Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is a question from Singapore O-Level 2014, paper 2, question 10. Now this is a question on circles, which usually involves midpoint, a completing square, distance formula, gradient. Okay, so the concept that you need to know, of course, is all the formula, as well as there's this important concept. The gradient between perpendicular lines are -1 when you multiply them together. Okay, so you will use it in part 2 later on. So let's take a look at part 1. Now part 1, I'm given the equation of circle, x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 6y equals to 36. I have to find the radius as well as the coordinates of center. So I know that I need to perform completing square. So with that, I will have x plus 2 whole thing square. And how I get it is performing completing square for my x squared plus 4x term. And subsequently, I will have to subtract 4, which is from 2 squared. Then for my y square and minus 6y, I also have to perform completing square. So for that, I'll be having square of y minus 3 minus 9, which is from minus 3 squared, equals to 36. Now all the perfect square, I'll put it one side. While all the constant, I'll put it another side, and I realize that I have 49. So from there, I'll get the center to be -2, 3, and the radius is actually square root of my right hand side, which is 7 units. Okay, that's my part 1. Now moving on to part 2, there is a second circle C2 where AB is a diameter. So it's actually a good news that I point AB. Now let's just label AB on the diagram. It doesn't have to be a horizontal line, it can be a slanted line. Let's not make the assumption it's a horizontal line, because it's better to have a general line than a horizontal line, because a horizontal line you would think that the y coordinate is the same, but it may not be the same. Okay, so right now coordinates of A it's given to you to be -5, 5. Coordinates of B is unknown, but one thing I know that AB is a diameter, and I know that the midpoint must definitely be the center of circle C2. I'll just call it point O. Now, it says that the equation of tangent, let me just highlight that, equation of tangent at C2 at B. Okay, what it means is that you have a point B there on the diagram, and tangent of C2. Now tangent, which means that it touches the circle at only one point. Now this green line that I just have here is tangent of circle at C2 at point B. Now the equation is given to you, which is 3y equals to 4x minus 15. Now what does that mean is that you know from circle property, tangent and radius in particular, the relationship is perpendicular, which is 90 degrees, and that's the reason why I told you from the start of this question that you will be using the gradient of the perpendicular line. So with that, I know that I can manipulate the equation 3y equals to 4x minus 15 to get the equation in terms of y as a subject, so that I can get the gradient. Okay, so 15 divided by 3, it will be 5. So the gradient of the tangent, which is the green line, is 4/3. So what about the gradient of the diameter AB? Because that's what I have to find out, equation of diameter AB. Gradient of AB would then be negative reciprocal. So 4/3 is the gradient of the green line. Now to get the perpendicular line, which is the red line, you just put a negative sign and reciprocate, which flip the fraction. So right now, I will have -3/4 as the gradient of the diameter. Now, you should also know this equation, -5, 5, y minus y1 equals to mx minus x1. You know that from A Math syllabus, you need to know this equation. Now, y1 and x1, simply just plug in a point that passes through the blue line, which is diameter of AB that you're looking for. In particular, you only have point A, so you sub in x to be -5. So be careful when you sub in -5. And your y1 is the y coordinates, which is 5. M is your gradient, so you plug into -3/4. And there you go, as long as you can simplify it, which means you expand and you simplify as y is a subject, you can get the equation of the diameter AB. which is y equals to negative 3 over 4x plus 5 over 4. Now moving on, the question also wants us to find the coordinates of point B. Now bear in mind that coordinates of point B is actually the point of intersection between the green line, which the equation is already given to you, and the equation of AB that you just found. Because it's point of intersection, which means we can perform simultaneous equation. So you have your equation 1 to be the equation that is given to you, 3y equals to 4x minus 15. That's your equation number 1. Equation number 2 is the equation that you just found, which is the diameter AB equation, and perform simultaneous. Okay, so you can substitute equation 2 into equation 1. With that, you can have only unknown x, and therefore you can always multiply a number on both sides, in particular 4, so that you can avoid having fraction. So you have negative 9x plus 15. The 4 denominator will be gone, but the right hand side will also get the multiplication of 4, because what you do on the left, you have to do on the right. So x one side, number one side, you realize that 25x is equals to 75, hence x is equals to 3. Use that to find the y coordinates, which is to plug in to your equation 2, 3 over 4 times 3 plus 5 over 4. With that, your y coordinate is negative 1. So the coordinates of B is actually 3, negative 1, and that's your part 2 worth 4 marks. Okay. Next one, part 3, find the radius and the coordinates of center of C2. Now look back at the diagram again. If I want the center, I must have the point O, which is the midpoint of AB. So let's find out midpoint of AB. Since you already have the coordinates of A and B, finding its midpoint, it's simple. Just add up the two x coordinates, which is negative 5 plus 3, as well as 5 plus negative 1. There you go, you have the midpoint negative 1, 2. Now to find the radius, simply you can use AO to find the length, or OB to find the length, because both of them are radius. So I will just use the square of negative 1 plus 5. 5 minus 2 squared. This is just applying the length formula, so I'll do a little bit faster here. 16 plus 9 is 25. Square root 25 is 5. So which tells you that the center is negative 1, 2, and the radius is 5 units. Okay. Now it's a little bit squeezy here. I hope you are still able to see it carefully. Now part 4, explain why 4, 6 lies within only one of the circles C1 and C2. Now, I think this is just like a question to help you to reconnect to C1 again, because part 2 and part 3 has been about C2. But there isn't really a challenging question if you think about it. Let me draw you a diagram, okay? So you have a C1 with the center, negative 2, 3, and the radius is 7 units. So if you want to know, 4, 6 is inside the circle. Within means inside, okay? Inside the circle or outside the circle, you just need to compare the distance. Whether the distance between negative 2, 3 and 4, 6 is more than 7 or less than 7. Okay, let's find out the distance first, okay? So distance formula again, negative 2, negative 4, square it, and 3 minus 6 square. And with that, you just simplify it, press your calculator, and you realize that the distance here is 6.71 units, which is less than 7. What does it mean is that if it's less than 7, the radius here is 7. If it's less than 7, which means your 4, 6 is inside the circle because the distance is less than 7. Okay, so 4, 6 lies within circle C1. And because the question says only one of the circle, and I anticipate that when I check the distance between center of C2 versus 4, 6, it will not be inside the circle. So let's check. So distance for here, okay, it would be square of negative 4 minus 1 plus square of 2 minus 6. That gives me a distance of 6.41 units. And now in this case, 6.41 is less than 5 because previously I got the radius of C2 to be 5 units here. If it's less than 5, if it's more than 5, it means that it is outside the circle. Okay, the distance is beyond 5. So therefore, 4, 6 only lies within C1. Okay, that is your 2014 paper 2 question 10 from the Singapore O-Level additional math.